Okay. My name is Giovanni Nieves, also known as Dante DVS, the body of desire, the weapon of mass seduction, the kingmaker. UWC, as it was called before, was Unified Wrestling Conglomerate. It started as a mistake of IWC. IWC was having a show at the Windy City Fieldhouse that me and Billy the Tiger.
Well, I was Punisher 747, which I no longer use now. I don't use the Punisher name no more, but that's how I started out, in UWC. The original founders of UWC was me, Gio, Ivan, myself, and Will.
We co-promoted. We used to do collaboration shows. We had gotten some bad news from the Windy City Fieldhouse that they were actually going to cancel.
The show didn't go through, and Billy and Gio got into an altercation.
They actually canceled us from being able to book from them because of some reason that they had where the new guys that took over didn't want wrestling in their building.
And Gio was like, "Oh no, I'm just gonna run my own thing."
I remember that.
Remember?
I remember that.
He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna start my own thing," and then that's when Gio came to us, and he was like, "Hey, you guys wanna start something? Start a different promotion?" And that's when we got together and we were coming up with ideas.
The brothers, what they were was they were my street guys. These guys were the ones putting the word out. I mean, we would have had a 700 crowd house had we been in the Windy City Fieldhouse, and it was all the brothers and their little crew of friends that they were just like full of piss and vinegar. They loved the wrestling business, and since their name was attached to this show that was coming up, they put a lot of their heart and soul into it, and they put the word out, and we were gonna get that good turnout. As a little punishment to Billy, we decided to take the reins because we no longer wanted to run under anybody that cancels shows. So I took the reins. I became the boss.
So it's fine, but I mean, like we, or Alex with the cameras and stuff, we could always lead up to something. However,
actually,
I'm talking about venues. The venue. I'm talking about the one venue. I'm talking about the Irish.
On the night of the very first UWC Nation 0 hour, we have over 350 people in that building, packed house, standing room only. And you can imagine, I felt like I had the world in the palm of my hand for the first time ever in the wrestling business, because before UWC Nation, I was nothing but a job guy in everybody else's company. UWC Nation, me and Van were the ones putting the matches together.
How are we gonna pass on
Even
that?
Chris is saying no. Imagine he don't even speak. So imagine, how bad that idea is.
No, that's not gonna be a good match. Fans are gonna.
Why are we talking about more matches?
No, we're not. Wait. Let's not talk about any more matches. We already got the matches set for the next event.
You saw what happened when we started ad-libbing, man. We had a 3-hour show. We gotta cut that down to 2 and keep it there.
Who are you?
I'm Alex Thorn. I'm the last New Focus champion, and I'm the only reason you remember UWC. The first time I ever met Dante DVS was through my then girlfriend, who worked with him in their shoot job, and she introduced me to him and said, "I work with a wrestler," and I said, "Oh, cool, I'll meet him." And we started talking, and I told him I had a band, and I also had a production company, and so we worked out a deal where I would not only just film his first show, but also have my band Dangerous Hope perform during the middle of the show, the break.
Alex Thorn, he was very creative. He was very instrumental in a lot of the stuff that we created, a lot of the themes.
I'm used to running things because I used to run Blackout, so it was okay. But a lot of the boys, as typical in wrestling, like to play politics. They don't like when they don't get matches. They don't like when certain things happen. But it's tough. This business is tough, so you get what you put in, what you put in, you get back. So that's kind of what happened and what's going to go down at Pandemonium.
I love pro wrestling, but I never saw myself as a pro wrestler. I never thought I would be a pro wrestler. It was something that I wanted to do, but it just seemed like something that was so far away. And I was rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling in rock bands for years, and that was my dream. It still is to this day to be a successful rock musician. But the opportunity arose, and I was 20 feet away from a wrestling ring, and I asked Dante DVS, can I get in there? And he loved the way I sold. He thought I had this instant presence in the ring, and he offered me a spot in the Battle Royal that night.
The drive was phenomenal. The hunger was phenomenal. These guys, they really wanted it. There was something to go for. There was something to strive about. And these guys were hungry. They were giving it their all. You know, be it that these guys were not like muscle heads, because I didn't really have any muscle guys in the UWC Nation, with the exception of maybe one or two guys. Everybody else was pretty average guys. Like just your fans in the business, your rejects, your misfits, your like all the who's who of the bottom barrel of the roster. Those guys were like, I try to turn them into stars at the UWC Nation.
One of the most interesting parts of early UWC was the New Focus division. I was envious of the New Focus division from the beginning, because while they may not have had any storylines, they were having the biggest pops of the night, no matter what, whether it was Willie Bling and Rongi going at it or out of town guys going at it, that they came and just wowed the UWC crowd because they had so much more talent and more ability than the rookies of the UWC had. The New Focus division was just huge.
It had an amazing roster. It had a very high creative, talented roster. That New Focus title was a great title, and you saw a lot of great matches. I think a lot of people didn't realize just how special that belt was until Alex Thorn was wearing it.
People were really drawn in to the concept of Alex Thorn versus EKW. And Alex Thorn did a fantastic job of being the person that everyone loved to hate. And he was untouchable and unbeatable in the ring. He was the New Focus champion. And EKW was breathing down his neck, and Thorn beat her, got even more heat. There was nothing else on that show that could touch the raw emotion going on in that building for that one match.
My first thoughts were, I've got this. That's it. This is second nature to me. And whatever they ask me to do, I'm going to kill it. That's all I thought.
So you had a drive.
Yeah. It wasn't something I aimed to do. I didn't have any specific goals after that. I just said, this is easy. I can do it if I want to. Whatever they ask me to do, I'll do it.
One day you'll see the truth. Yeah, you wanna let me in. I can see it in your eyes. You cannot find a way. One day
from being a shop rocker to manager to the main event within 3 months.
If it wasn't for them, and if it wasn't for pro wrestling, there would be no Steve Kenton today. There would be no YouTube channel with a variety of stuff that I got. I mean, I wouldn't be a part of any promotions. I'd probably be just stuck doing my shoot job.
16 times before the show starts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we don't do
already
that
got
no
our
more.
plan down. They don't.
I stopped asking them what their suggestions are, because their suggestions mean jack shit to me.
No, they usually
well,
jack
then
up.
we gotta stick with what we just made.
Yeah, we're not changing it. And then
Warbear Open Challenge.
There's only one
How
match.
does that sound? Warbear Open Challenge?
Yeah, that sounded good.
Even if Buddha doesn't want to take it, we can stick.
I think the breakout moment for me was when I finally found my niche, and I finally found something that I could give back and be a part of the company, because I was not a wrestler and I didn't come in with the intentions of doing so. But I loved wrestling, and I loved it so much that I wanted a part of it, and I didn't know what that was until a fight broke out in the locker room, and that's when it kind of dawned on me, hey, wait a minute, this would be great content for a show.
And welcome back to another episode of the Turnbuckle Pad. And I got something special for you, because I'm back with an old friend I have not seen since the first season. I want you to welcome Dante DVS.
How you doing?
Thank you for meeting up with me again, Dante. It's been about, what, almost a year?
It's been about
What's been going on in the meantime?
Well, this and that, man. You know, restructuring of the company, UWC Nation. We're trying to turn quantity into quality now. It's not about trying to get all the bookings and trying to get all the workers working. Now it's
There was definitely a wide variety of characters, and a lot of them just were very unique in their own way. Some of them were really, really good at what they did, and I can see why some of them had to keep working at it.
Dante never shut the door on me. In fact, I was always welcome at any UWC. We were pariahs They didn't know what to think of us, what to do with us or anything. But Dante and Van was like, man, let them dudes talk.
Yeah, Andrew was a hard worker for the UWC Nation. He's pretty much he was pretty much one of the pillars of that company. You know, the UWC Nation wouldn't have had half of its success if Andrew wasn't a part of it. And dude, when I talk about those cold winters that we was busting our hump to try to do that UPW IWC show, Andrew was one of those guys. He did much more than a lot of other people did. There was people that would just come, clock in, fucking clock out, and that was it. But Andrew was he's the first to come in and the last to leave.
Make some noise, Andrew. Shoot him up. Shoot off right now. Shoot off. Shoot him up.
We just basically told those guys that your role in this is for real, to treat it like it is. You are the new focus. You need to go out there and don't take your place on the card per se. Like maybe you're the first match. This is the most important match on the card. You are setting the tone. So we just put a new focus on what it really meant about new focus. We really wanted them to show up and show out, and let's show what this company is about.
At the time, the two individuals who were doing an outstanding job there were Aaron Ryder and Darwin Smith. Aaron Ryder, writing storylines, being an active participant in the matches, getting people to hate him immensely. And then you had Darwin Smith, just a creative genius, free-flowing with his words. Very energetic, very amped, got people excited, helped develop characters, wrote promos. This guy was all over the place. These two were really doing a great job.
They were good, as far as writing.
As people.
That's just people.
They had heart, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I was tag team with Aaron for crying out loud. Me and Aaron tag team. That was just, they got a Puerto Rican thug and a white boy in a full body jumpsuit.
And you were having fun. Were you having fun? Yes or no?
I had fun. I'm in the ring wrestling. I'm not even focused on the fans because Aaron is doing some funny, goofy shit in the ring. I'm like, what is he doing? And he was so green, but it worked. You know what I mean? So green, it worked because as soon as I came in, that's when the action came in.
I distinctly remember when Milo Cash was being a chauvinist pig and he was talking so much smack about women. And in particular, he was in the ring with Ivelisse Velez, who is now on AEW Dynamite.
But she knew how to work.
She knew how to work. But putting her against the women, the workers the poorly trained women workers of Chicago doesn't really stay much. So then I started putting her to work with guys that knew how to work, and that's how she started showing her talent. Evie got around in the scene wrestling guys, not girls.
Irregardless of whatever talent she had, irregardless of whether she was Puerto Rican or cute or whatever, he was talking down to her and was telling her, you're only good for a couple of things, in the bedroom and in the kitchen. And it was getting an emotional response. The crowd was jeering. They were getting louder. They were getting bitter. And eventually they had to pull the hook because at some point, either the fans were going to throw stuff in the ring or people were really wanting to see Ivelisse and Milo settle the score.
It ain't gonna be the Iceman pacing back and forth. It ain't gonna be the Iceman jumping up and down. It ain't gonna be the Iceman excited and thankful. What happened at the last Fever was completely uncalled for. The Iceman had the belt. He had the championship in his hands and got robbed by Alex Thorn. Ever since day one, Alex, you have been a thorn in the Iceman's side.
Iceman Tim Norton was a really popular guy. Anywhere where Iceman went outside of the wrestling world, he was popular. He was going to be the guy that everybody talked to. He was going to be the guy that went around the whole room and everybody knew about him. And so, besides production and video, Iceman was probably our biggest marketing tool that we had. And being in a spotlight with him meant that I was not only going to become bigger in one way or another, he was going to become bigger because I was doing my job of putting him over. The UWC was going to become bigger because that's where the battleground was happening.
My family, I don't know why, they were in love with Iceman. My cousins, like Iceman was they're Stone Cold. You know what I mean? Like they're Stone Cold. For some reason, everybody's like, man, I can't wait to go back to see Iceman.
They all erupted. They've run into the ring. I had the ring full of fans, and they were all picking up Iceman as the new champion in the year-end show. We finished that one beautifully. That was a story to be told the whole year through. Iceman was chasing that belt from the beginning of the year. Once the belt, and he was my greatest rival. Once the belt hit my waist, and he became the chaser, the storyline lit up, and everybody had to be there, and that was a packed house. That was a packed house. And you know what? The magic is even on YouTube. You could run it on YouTube. Look at Iceman Tim Norton, Dante DVS, UWC Nation Cold War 2009, and you see the end of that match. And I don't think anybody in the Indies has ever had a match that powerful.
You gotta remember, the B warehouse was in the back of a truck yard, way in the back of a truck yard next to freight train tracks. You know, this was the perfect location for an independent company because you walk into the B warehouse and it had the underground feeling. You know, this wasn't mainstream. This wasn't like you were booking out high schools and places like that. This was literally just that, a warehouse in the back of a truck yard. You know, so you were able to do almost anything back there and get away with it. And that's what made it so special being at the B warehouse.
The locals in the neighborhood over by North Avenue in Narragansett, they treated UWC like it was theirs. This is our hometown fed. I went to high school with him. I used to work with him. I know him. I see him at the buffet all the time. I'm going to go support these guys because it just felt like the local wrestling fed. They would bring their kids. So it became kind of like must-see TV when you had the audience that was coming in. Like, man, they got the best of Iceman last week. I'd have seen Iceman at Jiffy Lube getting the 12 chains, and I talked to him, and he told me he got something for Dante ass on Saturday. I'm bringing my kids. We want to go see it.
A lot of the fans came because, one, we bust our ass flying. We were out there in snow, rain, sleet. We were out there passing flyers. At that time, it was so hot. Who didn't know about it? Even our competitors knew we were running there, and they wanted to shut us out.
UWC's plan was still to only have one event per month. And I thought that was ridiculous. If we're going to build real storylines, then we need a show every week. And on the other side of that, Dante thought that was ridiculous. He's like, how are we going to draw people every single week? That's insane, asking for money every week. I said, charge them $5. Let's call it Saturday Night Fever. And let's get the boys time in the ring.
come up with all kind of concepts and stuff, but like Fever was the one that stuck for the regular, like the smaller shows, the ones that would be more continuous, the ones that were happening in between the big shows. Those were the Fever shows. Those were the build-up shows. Yep. And since I was running consistently, I was running frequently every weekend. We had build-ups. The storylines would actually be told.
You see, lately, as of late, I've been walking to the beat of my own drum. You see, Dante DVS has been taking baby steps after I became the UWC champion to secure my position as champion. And everybody, slowly but surely, has been walking away. Last match against the Iceman Tim Norton, there was no feature. Last match against Iceman Tim Norton, there was no Johnny the Saint. Last match against Iceman Tim Norton, there was no beauty.
There was no payoffs. These were free shows to the public. Only thing I was charging was concession. I would make a couple $100 out of concession, but I always had the guys I was sub-renting from with their handout. So I was never making no cash. All that money, but I was raising money to put it right in their pockets. Breakout moments. One of the ones that stood out to me the most was when I first brought in Mr. 450 Hammett and Noriega. That to me was one of the epic moments in Chicago indie wrestling period. Mr. 450, now known as Mecha Wolf, Noriega, El Rebelde Noriega, both former World Wrestling Console Universal Champions. So these guys are the who's of Puerto Rico, and I got them in UWC Nation. Nobody knew who these guys were when they first came to Chicago. Nobody, but I did. Finding out that these guys are moving to Chicago on separate occasions, mind you. I just had to have them because since they were professional wrestlers of the Puerto Rico caliber, which is like 100 calibers over us, I had to have these guys in my promotion, and I knew that they would take my promotion and take it to another level, and they did. Because that very first Hammett Noriega match was one of the most epic moments in Chicago indie wrestling history. It was beautiful, and they even admitted it to me that before UWC Nation, they've never encountered each other in the ring at all, ever.
Were they getting paid?
Well, of course, they were getting paid. Yeah. I was paying them guys, but I had to, like they don't know what this free shit.
Why would you feel bad that you say you have to pay top guys?
Because I didn't pay everybody else.
We're scraping by like, hey, when is our big break gonna come? When are we gonna make at least $30? You know what I'm saying? When are we gonna? And when you find that somewhere else, I'm gonna be honest, it's like a job. Another job's gonna give you more money. You're gonna go to the other job. You know what I mean? Not saying that I didn't have fun, but money trumps fun anywhere you go. You know what I mean?
I was more for the wrestling.
Yeah.
I didn't care if I got paid or not. I didn't care. And my mom used to fight with me. She used to be like, why the fuck are you wrestling if you're not getting paid? What the fuck are you doing? You get hurt, and then what? But she realized that it's what I want to do, and I enjoy doing it, and it's my outing, and, she supported it.
Something that they really love, it just, no matter how sick I am and how down and out I feel, I stand up and I said, I'm being there for my boys because they deserve this. They've been through so much. Eddie was so young, 15 when he started. And then when he got his brother in there, I was so angry because I saw him getting hurt and see him getting hurt. It's like, oh no, we're not having this. But then when I start opening up my doors to everyone, I felt that love. I saw who really loved my kids and I saw who really were envying them. So for me, it was like, you go out there and you better do a damn good job.
But in February of 2009, my one-year contract with UWC came up. And the contract that was presented to me was the exact same contract from my rookie year. This wasn't something I was going to accept. Gio did not want to pay. any funds for my services, whether they be in the ring or for production.
The money wasn't there, but Dante gave me an opportunity to have so many different experiences that the experience alone was worth more than money could provide. So whether that was being in the UWC Nation TV studios and learning about cameras and different angles and cutting scenes and cutting promos, or writing up storylines, long or short term.
Who has recently become, in 2011, another two-time UWC heavyweight champion, and we're only got to be talking about the body of desire, the weapon of mass seduction, the champion of champions, the villain in pink, the UWC heavyweight champion himself, Dante DVS. And over the course of 2011 so far, at 0 Hour 4, winning the Gauntlet Royale, becoming the UWC heavyweight champion. And then at UWC's Pandemonium, the celebration, the cake, the streamers, the balloons, everything was set in place for what should have been the greatest celebration of your entire lifetime, and then the celebration was ruined, and you took matters into your own hands, and that's why we're sitting here today, and because we need to talk about these issues in more detail. And Dante DVS, how did it feel on 0 Hour 4 when you became the UWC heavyweight champion again by winning the Gauntlet Royale?
Well, how do you think I feel, you idiot?
You know, you are the champion now, and I'm not an idiot, but I'm trying to let the fans know what happened there that night. And I'm sorry you feel that way, but Mr. Davies, with all due respect, you know, let's be cordial, let's be patient, let's be professional with one another. Again, the entire UWC Nation's watching on ECTV.
Well, let me address all the peons on ECTV, UWC Nation. Dante DVS is destined for greatness. Dante DVS is destined to be, if not one of, but the greatest thing that UWC Nation has ever produced. Do you get it? I mean, it was my destiny to be champion. Nobody else is even anywhere near my caliber, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you feel deep down inside that there is no...
The success, I would have considered it more successful if I was actually making money out of this. But mind you, this is every week, day in, day out, rain, shine, snow, freezing cold weathers, swarming hot weathers, free. Volunteer. Every weekend we got these shows, these fever shows and these big shows happening on a constant. So there was like, I was working so much in and out, day and night, week on and week out, months in and months out through the years, that after a while I just stopped appreciate, there was no time to appreciate because I was always busy. So it was like a non-stop show. It was like it was never like there was no time to sit down and actually appreciate what we were doing because it was non-stop work.
Promotion, regular rates of equipment installation, taxes, franchise, and phone fee. Of course, there's an easier way to pick up what you need, just steps from your price copy.
Gio's father died. So after his father died,
it was hard.
He didn't want to do it no more. He lost half passion.
Condition is not getting way better. It's slowly but surely progressing. Doctors say he's gonna regress. They swear up and down he's brain dead, but I have faith that my father, you know, is gonna go above and beyond this, and he's gonna pull through.
Back before indie wrestling was a thing, he was he tried his hand in the wrestling business in New York during his younger years.
Your dad?
My father when I was born, my father was already in his 40s. My father, Domingo Nieves, man, he was something else. He was a character in himself. My father was a mystery. My father lived as a mystery. He died as a mystery.
I'm gonna hang on that much longer just to make sure that everything's on the up and up. The last thing you want to do is get the plug pulled on your father, and it's all your fault.
Just a lot of things happening all at the same time. And after that last show in June and the fact that Dante was still dealing with his dad passing away, I hadn't heard from Dante for 3 months after that.
My goal when we came to the Irish American Heritage Center and we were setting up for Rebirth, which was the title for 0 Hour 4, was to get rid of the dead weight. If you couldn't pull your weight, if you couldn't bring people to the shows, especially now we needed them. We couldn't just depend on family and friends and girlfriends. We needed real people. We needed you to do footwork one way or another. And the best way you could have done that was take advantage of our TV time that we had. We had an actual live show.
I was trying to collect everything that I needed to make an indie wrestling promotion flourish like the big boys. That was my motivation. You know, I was trying to be a producer, a real producer, produce real product.
But the thing is, sometimes in business you have to spend money to make money. UWC money wasn't going anywhere because nobody got paid. Guys from Puerto Rico got paid. I got paid occasionally, but believe me, when I got paid, I had to fight tooth and nail to get paid. But, you know, how you expect people to spend hours on end every week on your business and never get paid, even when you're in year 3 or 4, that just doesn't work.
We were running events at times every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, and we were running pretty often. And eventually it got to a point where I felt like the fans had seen some of these matches over and over again, and maybe they had had enough of it. The teamwork concept was dissipating. The participation was lighter. We had a new venue we were dealing with. It was nothing like our previous situation where it was in your face wrestling. With
our diehards, they try to join us. They try to join the circus and travel with the circus. The diehards did. They did. But the casual fans, not so much. So here we are at the Irish American Heritage Center, and the seating capacity is about what, 750 chairs. But my crowds that are coming in are about 150, 200. So 150, 200 spread out through an auditorium of 750 chairs looks like there's hardly no crowds, and we would have to deal with that. So I would always try to focus on the cameras in the ring and not focus on the crowd so much, you know. Yeah, I remember that my father was dead, so that I kind of used that as a motivation to try to promote my show. But I was burned out. I was already gassed, and like the show day comes and, you know, the ring bell, the ring bell rings, and I only see maybe this handful of people out there, maybe 100, maybe less.
The Irish American Heritage Center was an actual venue, you know, and they were on a stage. So yeah, a crowd in the B warehouse would look small in the Irish American Heritage Center.
UWC was actually coming down. And that led the way when Gio said, oh, we're going to take a break. Mind you, when UWC closed, he didn't tell people it closed. He told people we were taking a break. So I figured this would be a great time for me to get in the best shape of my life so that when we came back, you know, I'd be looking bigger and better than ever before. Well, UWC never came back.
For real, the reason I left, well, number one, I wasn't getting paid. And two, well, I had a better chance of getting the exposure that I needed by performing at these other theaters. And I also had a responsibility to my improv team, who were like brothers to me.
I know that around that time was where we was having friction with some of the boys. They were starting to want to start doing things on their own, because I guess I made promoting sound that looked so easy. Everybody wanted to be a promoter. Alex went away and tried to do blackout wrestling.
I know that each and every one of you guys here love coming here each and every day, right? And May 19th, are you guys excited for what's gonna come? Yeah! A lot of big wrestling fans here. Yeah! May 19th, through the good graces of Mr. Grant. He's invited us down here. We wanted to help out as much as we could. At May 19th, we're gonna raise so much money that you guys will stay open forever.
The way we run this is the way we should have ran UWC.
Let me tell you something. Now, if we were like had control, like how we have now for SCM, UWC would still been running around. To this day, UWC was still been around.
I was so destroyed by that. I was so taken back and so disrespected by such a shitty turnout after I put so much hard work into it and still trying to recover from losing my father, and my mind wasn't right, and I was heavy on the drugs and doing all kinds of shit, and nobody showed up to that event, and it really took the wind off my sails. And I at that moment I just realized that I just couldn't do it anymore, and it was time for me to close my chapter as a promoter and close the doors for UWC Nation for life.
You know, the setup for this and to show an interest in what UWC Nation was all about, being a part of it. You know, it means a lot to us, and especially Dante DVS in particular, because it just seems like I can sense that there's a fire and a passion in him that I haven't seen in him in a really, really, really long time. With the rise and fall of UWC Nation, it is a story that needs to be told. I mean, I could tell that over time UWC was a physical and mental toll to some that were a part of it. But to address things like people that are casual fans or fans that hardly watch wrestling anymore, that only watched it when they like certain performers like The Rock and Stone Cold, you know, they might see independent wrestling and they might see a UWC Nation and they might see that, you know, there's this cast of characters, all shapes and sizes, and they might not care about them very much at all. And they might call us faker than fake. And, you know, I take offense to that. I'm sure everyone else does as well, because this is a real competition for attention. We've got pro wrestlers that are willing to do literally anything in their right of mind to get a response, to get noticed. And, you know, it takes its toll. It is an enduring mission.
It was a brotherhood. That's what UWC Nation was. It was a family, you know, like we was,
yeah,
you know, like we was broke. We was always broke, but we somehow found a way to try to please the guys, you know, try to make sure everybody was good and everybody felt home. So I mean, like anybody that hates me now from those times, I honestly feel, you know, I'm honestly sorry for you, because I did the best I could.
That was the very first company I ever got involved with, and that will always be my forever home.
They still treated me like family. I don't want to say like one of the boys. It's beyond that for me. Those guys were family to me, and they treated me very, very well. I think about them all the time because of how good they were.
I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Dante DVS, the whole UWC Nation. There were great people in UWC. This is a band of misfits getting together, running shows. But when you think about it, what other promotions were using these guys and using them, you know, in a decent manner other than just being jobbed out?
SCM is UWC. It's just changed because now I got the sauce of us two in it. Gio's there, Andrew's there.
I send my love to their families and my prayers to their families. It's been a long time, but they have never been forgotten. Right now, a decade later, look, we're having this documentary and they're being mentioned right now as we speak.